If you take a quick look at Google Trends, it's pretty obvious. Stablecoins are a hot topic right now. Everyone seems to be searching for them, trying to learn more. What's really exciting, though, is how much attention they're getting from lawmakers, government officials, and even big banks. With all this buzz and movement, stablecoins are only going to grow in importance, and it's definitely something we should keep an eye on. What's even more fascinating is what this all means. We're watching the financial system evolve right before our eyes, and at the heart of it all is blockchain technology. Let's take a quick look at what went down with stablecoins in June. It was a pretty exciting month. For starters, big names like Apple, X, Airbnb, and even Google are reportedly in early talks with crypto companies to explore how they can integrate stablecoins. That's huge. It really shows that almost every major player out there is starting to dip their toes into the stablecoin space. We already know that Amazon and Walmart are eyeing stablecoins, and it feels like it's only a matter of time before Visa and MasterCard jump in too. Honestly, I'm just waiting for them to announce it because it makes so much sense for them to explore stablecoins. This is only going to grow into a much bigger deal in the coming years. And let's not forget the big banks. For example, OHA Bank is diving into stablecoins and tokenized deposits, whether that's through creating their own token or joining an industry-wide initiative. It turns out that the industry initiative involved a few major players. We know Citi was part of it, along with Bank of America and JP Morgan. I think Wells Fargo might have been involved too, but I'm not 100% sure on that. What we do know for sure is that big banks are seriously exploring the idea of tokenizing deposits. More recently, JP Morgan introduced something called JPMD. Technically, it works like a stablecoin by market standards, but it's actually a deposit token. Oh, and this was launched on Base. You know what's really fascinating about this? It takes me back to something I said in August 2023. That was 2 years ago. Back then, I wondered what the future would look like. My prediction: every major nation would have its own digital currency. Central bank digital currencies will be the foundation of this shift. Banks will tokenize their reserves, and some may even create their own tokens. Think JPM coin. And guess what? We now have JPMD. The world is clearly heading toward a future dominated by digital money, where anything of value will eventually be tokenized. The big picture here is that the global financial system is shifting away from being tied to a single centralized currency. Decentralization on a global level isn't just a possibility, it's a necessity. The US dollar has shown us why relying on one reserve currency isn't sustainable long term. The fascinating thing about CBDCs is that they could actually make reserve currencies unnecessary. However, they'd absolutely require a decentralized bridge currency to function smoothly. A lot of people believe this bridge currency might be XRP or even XLM. Based on various reports and documents, I truly think we're on the brink of a major shift where distributed ledger networks, DLNs, take center stage globally. Whether it's XRP, XLM, or another solution, one thing's for sure: the world is changing fast. Blockchain and distributed ledger technology, DLT, are at the heart of this transformation, and it's something everyone should pay attention to. The key here: diversify into utility-driven giants in this space and have the patience to see the bigger picture unfold. And let's be real, this change is already happening. Pick stablecoins, for example. No matter what some might say, they're essentially CBDCs. They're programmable, on-chain, trackable, and traceable. When it comes to CBDCs and stablecoins, they're actually not all that different. I've talked about this quite a bit before, but here's the gist. CBDCs could basically just be a digital version of a dollar or euro. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, will central banks roll out their own digital currencies? Most likely. They'll probably launch their own tokens at some point. And of course, we already have stable coins like ROUSD that people are using right now. Here's the crazy thing about big banks. Each one is creating its own tokenized reserves, also known as deposit tokens. For example, JPMD is JP Morgan's deposit token. And when you look at what JP Morgan's doing, it's clear they're setting the standard for other major banks. That's why it's so interesting to see Deutsche Bank jumping into this space too at the same time. Fireblocks recently shared a great report, State of Stablecoins 2025, which revealed some big insights. Did you know 49% of institutions worldwide already use stablecoins for payments? Another 41% are either testing them out or planning to. This is real progress toward the future of finance. The big players, including most major banks, are gearing up for stablecoins. The push for the SEC to approve something that allows access to crypto payments has been gaining steam. And Bank of America is proof that this is serious. This isn't just some far off idea anymore. It's happening, and it's a big deal. We've seen hints of this for years, even as far back as 2021. Now, fast forward to May, near the end of the month, Scott Bessent made a bold statement. Stablecoins could drive $2 trillion in demand for US treasuries. That's massive. The message is clear. Digital assets are on the rise, and we're diving in headfirst. Check this out.
We went big into stablecoin in this country. What effect could that have on the strength of the dollar? Because people might have to hold dollars in order to match against it, or even for treasuries.
Well, we are going big on digital assets. So Trump administration has made digital assets a priority. Past administration starved and almost made extinct a lot of these companies and pushed it offshore. So what we want to do is apply the highest U.S. regulatory and AML standards to digital assets, especially stablecoins. And I've seen estimates that just over the short term, stablecoins could create $2 trillion of demand for U.S. treasuries and treasury bills. To put that in context, the number is probably about $300 billion right now.
Stablecoins are a big focus for the current administration right now, and it makes total sense. Digital assets are something the US really needs to get on board with, especially since so many other countries are charging ahead in this space. The UK, the UAE, and even China are taking big steps forward, which we'll get into in just a bit. Speaking of interesting takes, Scott Bessent brought up a great point recently. Crypto isn't actually a threat to the dollar. In fact, stablecoins could even help strengthen the dollar's global dominance. It's definitely something to think about, especially since stablecoins have been flying under the radar for way too long. Let's talk about what Scott Bessent shared in a recent interview. It's super interesting. He kept it real. Crypto isn't here to threaten the dollar. In fact, stablecoins might actually help boost the dollar's global dominance. Digital assets are exploding worldwide, but let's be honest, governments have been a bit slow to catch up. The good news, that's starting to change. This administration is stepping up to make the US a leader in digital asset innovation, and the Genius Act is a huge move in that direction.
There's a new book called King Dollar, a journalist who's followed Treasury for about 40 years.
Yeah.
And he talks about every time there was a narrative that the U.S. was going to lose reserve currency status, why it's never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And
because crypto, that seems to be a threat to the dollar, doesn't it?
I think it's the opposite.
Oh, really?
I think stable coins could reinforce dollar supremacy, because with stable coins could end up being one of the largest buyers of U.S. treasuries or T-bills.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, if you are using a stable coin in Nigeria that's backed by the U.S. dollar, you don't actually have to have dollars. It's on your phone. You can transact. So I think there's a very good chance that crypto is actually one of the things that locks in dollar supremacy.
And is that why it was crucial that Donald Trump get involved in crypto rather than trying to constrain it like Joe Biden was?
I think constrain's too mild a word. I think make it extinct.
Oh.
So this administration's commitment to digital assets, it's innovation, because there's so many other things that happen around digital assets. And also, it's one of those things that it's one of the most important phenomena that's happening in the world, and the U.S. just ignored it.
One big reason the U.S. is pushing hard to speed up stablecoin adoption and related legislation is pretty clear. They want to flood the global system with digital dollars and stay on top as the world's leading currency. By bringing the dollar on chain, they're aiming to keep its dominance intact. But how long can this last? That's the big question. Other countries are busy developing their own stablecoins and digital currencies, so the competition is definitely heating up. Honestly, it feels like a global race to launch stablecoins tied to national currencies. The space is evolving fast, and it's getting more exciting by the day. Here's some interesting news. Li Yang, chair of China's National Institution for Finance and Development, has highlighted how stablecoins are strengthening the US dollar's influence. To counter this, he's even floated the idea of launching an RMB stablecoin through Hong Kong to protect China's monetary independence. On top of that, the governor of China's central bank weighed in, pointing out how blockchain is speeding up stablecoin adoption and transforming cross-border payments. Instant settlements are shaking up traditional systems, but they're also creating new regulatory challenges. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. Stablecoins are becoming a major driver of blockchain adoption. The move from traditional systems to digital, blockchain-based ones, is really picking up speed, and it's completely reshaping how things work. With ISO 2022 just around the corner and major banks diving into tokenization and stablecoin projects, the pace of change is incredible. Even big names like the DTCC and Swift are jumping into crypto. Yep, the heavy hitters are getting involved. What's really exciting is how this shift is driving things like instant payments and stablecoins, which are now pushing banks to upgrade their core systems. Stablecoins in particular are a game changer. I can't emphasize that enough. Stablecoins are the talk of the crypto world right now. Welcome to Stablecoin Summer. But what's all the buzz about? Simply put, they're driving a massive upgrade to the way our financial system works. And that's where Ripple and XRP come into the picture. Here's the deal. Ripple and XRP have spent years reimagining how money moves, aiming to create what some call the Internet of Value. They've been working hard to replace outdated, clunky banking systems that just weren't built for today's need for instant transfers. Legacy systems with their slow batch processing and rigid schedules just can't keep up, especially as stablecoins are becoming more mainstream. Most financial institutions now see faster payments as essential for new use cases. But here's the catch. They often face big challenges like technical difficulties and high integration costs. This is where partnerships with solution providers come in handy. The industry is shifting from traditional monolithic banking systems to more flexible modular ones, using cloud platforms and software as a service to adopt new innovations more easily. So how do we make these connections happen? Let's talk about integrating with blockchain-based systems. For example, FedNow already works with blockchain players, and companies like Volanti have Ripple using SRP integrated through API technology. APIs make it easy essentially to hire a ton of IT resources or overhaul their systems. It's a big upgrade, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. And while the core systems are evolving, it's all about making these upgrades smoother and more seamless. I really think we're heading toward a time when the current system could go down, maybe because of a massive cyber attack or something along those lines. When that happens, I can totally see the system being rebuilt on-chain and becoming fully digital. That might sound a bit out there, but it's exactly how I imagine it playing out. We might even see this transition happen step by step. Big banks are already starting to make moves in this direction. Look at JP Morgan launching its deposit token, Deutsche Bank exploring stablecoins and tokenized deposits, and even Citi and Bank of America jumping on board with on-chain solutions. It's all happening. One important point to note is that stablecoins will need to comply with ISO 2022 standards. There's plenty of documentation on this, which I'll dive into. Big thanks to Smokedog for sharing this. Let's dive into the first key point. At the bottom, we've got ISO 2022, a major upgrade for interbank payments on the SWIFT network. It's bringing extra data fields, faster transmission speeds, and new features for compliance, fraud detection, and prevention. Plus, it's aligning with ISO codes for payments, which will also apply to CBDCs, and here's the big one, compliant stablecoins. Interoperability is the game changer here. It's what will allow digital assets and currencies to become a seamless part of everyday life. The technology is already in place, but to truly unlock the potential of DLTs, we need agreed upon international standards and well-developed legal and regulatory frameworks. Regulations are absolutely key to making this all work. So here's the deal. At the top, we've got the G20 Cross-Border Payments Program, and at the core of it are two key building blocks. Number 14 focuses on harmonizing ISO 2022, and number 15 is all about harmonizing API protocols. What's cool is these building blocks are designed to ensure crypto and stablecoins are compatible with ISO 22 standards and support the adoption of API standards. Yep, there it is again, API standards. Makes you think, right? These stablecoin arrangements we're seeing all hinge on ISO compatibility and seamless connectivity through API standards, making everything basically plug and play. What's exciting is that many players already have the infrastructure in place to integrate easily with traditional systems. Ripple is a great example. And then there's Quant, which is actively enabling a lot of this innovation. Chainlink seems to be doing something pretty similar. But when it comes down to it, the real game changers here are the fully compliant stablecoins. I'm talking about ROUSD and even Circle's USDC, both of which, by the way, are on the XRP ledger. These could easily be integrated into the traditional financial system. Honestly, we could completely transform payments almost overnight if we had clear crypto regulations in place. It's all within reach. That said, we're probably still a few months away. I'm optimistic, though, by the end of this year, I think we'll start seeing some solid legislation passed in the US for stablecoins and even the broader market structure. By 2026, I think we'll have full crypto regulations in place. We're not far off now from seeing everything fully integrated into the system. Scott Bassett has talked about this, and even major players like David Sachs are saying we're getting closer to making crypto a part of the traditional financial world. Take Ondo, for example. They're working on something similar to a stock market too. We're starting to see this exciting convergence between traditional systems and new technologies. And let's not forget the big players. They're already here. BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, even State Street, they're all diving into this space. The shift is happening in real time. The only thing holding us back is the regulatory process, which is why things might feel a little slow or even boring right now. I just want to point out that we're starting to see some big moves happening. All the major players are showing interest in stablecoins. They're eager to get involved. This is going to push them onto the blockchain, using some of the amazing networks we talk about here all the time. With that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the free content we share. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.